Our first one's from Mark, and I like this. Mark says, I'm 37 and has been a hobbyist Olympic lifter. What a nice phrase. For 10 years or so, competing occasionally for fun. I'm long overdue for a change, so I decided to try my hand at rock climbing, but would like to keep a couple of short strength weightlifting sessions each week for general fitness and not lose touch completely with the Olympic lifts, okay? I've seen you recommend snatch, front squat, and loaded carries as a go-to workout. Do you have an equivalent workout using the clean and jerk? I've seen minimalist 2-day programs in a few of your books, but they seem to use the clean as opposed to the clean and jerk on the second day. Reading between the lines, I think clean and jerk, push press, and RDLs might make sense, but I have been known to be a chronic overthinker. Well, minimalist training is wonderful. And I got to tell you, folks, I guess I have a love-hate relationship with minimalist training because I'm not a big fan of raw beginners jumping into the programs. As a kettlebell person, for a long time, there was this, I remember being at an RKC and a person saying something along the lines of, very few people should ever go beyond the program minimum. And at the time, it was just the snatch and the get up. And I remember thinking, boy, I obviously this person doesn't work with the kind of people I work with, because that would drive them crazy quickly. The original program minimum was the bench press and the snatch, which I still think is interesting because the number of people who take the bench press seriously on the planet, I would not be surprised could fit into my office here. Okay, that wasn't mean. I teach the bench press. It's just, it's a different kind of exercise. When Pavel wrote Power to the People and he said side press and deadlift, I told him not long after that if he had bench press and deadlift, there would not have ever been another book written about weightlifting. So on minimalist programs, I like where Mark is from here. So Mark has been, doing the Olympic lifts for 10 years. So he has that background. So if he does slide over to a small minimalist program, he's going to get a lot of the benefits out of it. I do think for many of you who are on fat loss programs, I think we often overtrain on fat loss programs. Tom Furman is famous for his book, You Can't Outrun a Donut. I think I mentioned recently that on a really bad snowy day here in Salt Lake, not bad, snow was great, but you couldn't really get outside. I went up to the school that I coach at and I did a treadmill. My God, I can't believe I did a treadmill for an hour walk just to see how far I could go. But it had that cool little calorie counter in there. And I got to tell you, an hour of walking, I don't think it was over 200 calories burned in an hour. 1/17 of a standard bag of chips is about the same number of calories. It's real hard to out-exercise bad nutritional decisions. So now, to get to your point, I'm a big fan of minimalist programs. I think you were referencing one of the great programs I did in my career, which originally was bench press and snatch, and then 2 days later was squat and clean, or it could have been a little bit different, but it's not important. Later, after long discussions, we moved to bench press and snatch and bench press and front squat because of the needs I specifically needed at that time. I like your idea here. So folks, he's saying the clean and jerk, the push press, and RDLs. If you're doing Olympic style clean and jerks, I think the push press is redundant here. But I just want you to think about this. I don't want to go too far on this. How about, since it is it's the king of lifts, the clean and jerk, as that's what I was taught when I was young. The clean and jerk, and if you did snatch grip RDLs, I think you would cover a lot of ground. But to be honest, if all you did is clean and jerk, that's a pretty darn good workout. I remember as I got along later and later in my career, first I could get down to I could only do 6 clean and jerks in training. And then later I got to the point that I only clean and jerked on the platform with officials, because the hit you take from heavy clean and jerks is so big, it's really hard to recover from. So Mark, if you're thinking about a truly minimalist program, 1 day a week, why don't you do that clean and jerk followed by a suitcase carries, and tell me how that goes. And the only reason, if you're going to stick with this snatch, front squat, loaded carry 1 day, and then we're do, clean and jerk and suitcase carry the other, I think that takes you from a minimalist program to a really good program, which is always something I like to think about. And one thing, Mark in his last 2 words of his question said, chronic overthinker. There's 2 kind of issues I often deal with. Very often people don't think for themselves or try things, and then they get caught up in the minutia of not thinking for themselves. And on the other hand, then they take that too far and overthink it to the point that they haven't trained in 3 years, So all of you are chronic overthinkers. Relax. Generally, some of your first thoughts are pretty good thoughts, and stick it out, okay? Mark, fun question, and thank you so much.